We're back on Morning Kick Around. This is a hot topic. NISA, the National Independent Soccer Association, has a brand new commissioner, and you can see him right here on the screen. Chandler Hoffman joins us. I see that the press release about your appointment, Chandler, has just hit my inbox about a half hour ago. So you're as fresh can be. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jason. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. So I appreciate you coming on. I mean, obviously, this is a big undertaking. I know you've been working, you've been getting your education to do something like this. You know something about this league. You played in this league. First of all, what is NISA trying to accomplish right now? Where is NISA in the American soccer system right at this moment, Chandler?
Yeah, I think it's a refresh. I mean, you've seen kind of from the logo re-release to the executive board complete shakeup. So there's the pro tournament coming up in the fall and kind of using that as a springboard going into 2026. And I mean, it's a big year for U.S. soccer in general, but for NISA specifically. So we're excited about some of the things we have coming out.
I know we're going to be a little remedial here, right? But I think this is kind of necessary to educate some people in American soccer who maybe don't know a lot about NISA and what the original concept and sort of the intention of NISA was, and sort of where you guys are now with your appointment. And I know there's a new CEO, and you mentioned the board, but what kind of thing is NISA? I mean, do we look at it as an analog to any of the leagues that exist? Where is the number of teams? What kind of clubs are you guys trying to involve? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, as a league, we want to be, as the name states, the National Independent Soccer Association. So instead of the franchise model, which is very common within U.S. soccer, they are independently owned clubs. And so they form like an executive committee, and that's who Matt, the CEO, and I will deal directly with, is that executive committee, which Bob's the chair of currently. And so, yeah, it's just kind of a different model, definitely based more on what you see kind of in Europe or other countries, where it's not one league that owns all the teams, but the teams are all independently owned. So it is different in that sense from the U.S. soccer standpoint.
Now, I know. If you go all the way back to Peter Wilt and some of the things that happened in the very beginning of NISA, and obviously through to where we are now, and there were some difficulties and bumps in the road, and we can talk about those. But one thing people will point to, and I'll throw in one of our member chat comments here. This is from Mike. NISA's lower barrier of entry seems to have been a bit of an issue in the past. What's the threshold for entry? I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not franchises; they're independent clubs. But if you are saying come one, come all, you kind of run the risk of some of these clubs not being all that well run. How does that affect the league going forward?
Yeah, I think there's a big onus from the new executive committee to make sure that these teams that are coming in are well vetted, in that there's longer than a 1 and 2 year plan, and that there's an understanding that it can be challenging in lower division soccer to generate revenue. And so to
seem to have
come in with
frozen.
eyes wide open of what that could actually be like.
Sorry, Chandler, your connection just kind of blinked out for a second there, but I think we've got you back. So yeah, you were talking about vetting clubs, right? That's an important part of this. But again, like how is the balance between sort of like, we need to make sure these clubs in a difficult environment trying to make money can survive, but we don't want to prevent anybody who wants to get in, because that's the spirit of the league, from getting in.
Yeah, and I think that's the tough balance that we're trying to figure out, the new executive committee, of how we can do that in a healthy way, of making it an open system for clubs to come in, but also make it sustainable long term. And so it's a big task, and you've seen a lot of lower division leagues struggle because it is challenging. But you have a committed group of people now on the executive committee that have the team first and soccer first mentality. And so it's figuring out how we can do it in a sustainable way and create a league that really provides value and opportunities for communities and clubs and players.
Now, one thing that, was unique or is unique to NISA is this idea of connecting with a lot of these regional amateur leagues, finding ways to, bring things together that maybe were not before. NISA Nation is part of that. I mean, the idea of sort of promotion and relegation within any levels of American soccer. I know some amateur leagues do it, and that is a thing that is a feature of those leagues, but it hasn't gotten up to the pro level yet, although USL has a plan. So what is NISA's outlook on things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting my foot in the door, so it's hard to be able to say like, here's the concrete plan that's laid out. But there has been communication, and Bob and I have talked. And long term, the goal is to get promotion relegation within NISA. But obviously, it's a plan that's down the line. First, you have to be up and running with your top division and doing a good job there. But it is definitely what's in the long-term goals.
So the issue of sanctioning, that's obviously been something that lots of leagues have to deal with. I mean, again, USL has plans, and they want to have a first division, and that means they have to meet some PLS standards. And obviously, we're always talking about whether the PLS need to be there, what they need to look like. What is NISA's relationship with U.S. soccer and the idea of sanctioning a professional men's outdoor league?
Yeah, so Matt, as the CEO, is going to be dealing a lot with U.S. soccer. I will to an extent, but there's open dialogue, and that's obviously a main priority with these teams that we're planning to present, is making sure that they're compliant or at least in a good position to receive that provisional sanctioning. So there's open dialogue with U.S. soccer, and that's on Matt kind of spearheading that, and he's really taking the lead on that.
Okay. So again, like, just go to be remedial and basic here. How many teams you guys got right now? And where are your sort of like your anchor clubs that these teams are going to be well run? They're going to be part of our thing going forward. The men's tournament this summer, and then obviously whatever else you guys want to do for 2026.
Yeah, I think over the coming weeks you'll see more public information about what teams have locked in and are going to be a part of, obviously, the tournament. We've announced some, and then going to be a part of the league next year. But for the time being, I kind of have to keep it quiet for now until we get everything more in a public sense. But we do have some very, very good relationships and conversations going on. And then we do have quite a few teams that have locked in and secured, and we're really excited about where we'll be.
I think what's been interesting as I kind of take an agnostic approach to this, Chandler. I'm not trying to judge anybody's efforts, because I think we need everybody trying things in American soccer. Like, we got to mix it up. We got to try stuff. Otherwise, we don't know what's going to work. I'm watching. We do a lot of videos. We do a lot of discussion about USL expansion. You see, USL League One is adding potentially 7 teams next year. Obviously, there's independent clubs joining MLS Next Pro as well. I mean, you can talk about the value of that. Some of this is a financial proposition, right? It's about the costs. It's about the support. You guys are being very decentralized, right? The idea is these are independent clubs that get to do what they want. We're just kind of organizing them into a league. So what is the attractiveness? I mean, what is the differentiator for NISA, maybe over some of those other leagues? Or what kind of clubs are clubs that might be attracted to NISA rather than MLS Next Pro or USL League One?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, as people know, it's very cost prohibitive and can be challenging to get a franchise within USL, MLS Next Pro, any of those things. And so NISA, the goal is with this new executive committee and the league is to create kind of that central hub where we help educate, organize, and ensure that there's viability, like long-term for these clubs. And it's not just what we've seen so often and is common in lower division soccer, is these teams that are a flash in the pan. It's a year or two, and then they fall out of the professional soccer landscape. So it's really kind of organizing and making sure that teams know, kind of have a blueprint for what can create success and what can create sustainability and just support as a league. And then really just, like we've talked about, partnering with local like regional leagues and things like that, and trying to keep the travel where it's not so expensive with all these cross-country trips, because the reality is it gets very expensive when you're playing cross-country week in, week out.
Yeah, that kind of brings up a question, though. I mean, again, I mentioned USL League One, and they're trying to add teams, and everybody all of our listeners and viewers who are part of that conversation will say they got to get to regionalization. Like, they got to get to a place where they have enough teams and they can split up the country, and these teams don't have to travel so much, because particularly at that level, it is cost prohibitive to pay for travel. why do a national footprint then, Chandler? I mean, why not? There are high level amateur regional leagues you guys have been involved with in the past. NISA Nation is that story, but why do a professional men's national league if that cost is so prohibitive? Why not focus on, just being a league for the western part of the country or the eastern part of the country? I mean, is there thought about that?
That would be something that we haven't gone into a lot of depth about. I mean, obviously, I've only started today as the release for me, so some of the questions we haven't gone in depth with. But I know long term the goal is within NISA to find its kind of niche within U.S. soccer, and it's to provide communities and players, clubs, opportunities to play at a professional level. Because even within it being regionalized, there's still going to be opportunities for cross conference games and things like that. It's just creating it in a way where it's more sustainable in the short term for these localized games, creating some rivalries. And then obviously as you advance and get deeper within, you can have your cross country and playoff system. But I think creating that national league, it allows country or clubs within anywhere in the country to be able to have an opportunity and find their space as NISA find its footing.
I want to ask about you and what led you to decide that you wanted to do this, that this is the next step. I mean, people can obviously look up your playing career and play for the Galaxy. You spent some time in the lower divisions of American soccer at the end. So what was it that was attractive to you about taking on this challenge of being the commissioner of NISA?
Yeah, I have a huge passion and love for the game. And obviously growing up in Alabama, not exactly the hotbed when I was growing up for soccer in general. It was like American football and
just real quick, I want to interject. So Alabama killed my soccer career but not Birmingham. I know you're from Birmingham. I moved to, I'm older than you. Let's just make sure that's very clear too. I'm significantly older than you. But I moved to Montgomery when I was in 5th grade. I had been playing up to that point. I moved to Montgomery in 5th grade, and it just wasn't good enough for me. I didn't like it. I didn't think they cared about it enough, and I stopped playing soccer. And I had to rediscover the game later on, Chandler. So bring Alabama. I know Birmingham's doing work. Bring Alabama along.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fun seeing guys like Chris Richards and Tanner Tessman. Yes. They've really kind of taken what I've done and then taken it to a whole nother level. So it's cool to see their success. But yeah, so I finished playing at the end of 2022. And like you said, I feel like I'm uniquely positioned in that had 4 years in MLS, played in USL for 5, played in NISA for 2. So I've kind of seen every level of professional soccer within the US and had some success at all different levels. And so when I finished playing, I was like, what do I want to do? What's next? And I knew I wanted to be involved in the game in a meaningful way. So I started my master's program at Georgetown. So doing my sports industry management, which I'll finish up here in the next couple months. So it was kind of a natural transition in that what I was doing in my courses kind of led straight into a conversation with Bob a couple weeks ago. And it got me excited about the idea and hearing that it was a whole new revamped executive team, a revamped vision, and the opportunity to kind of revive something that had a lot of people thought was going to be dead. There was talk that NISA was going to be no more. But hearing like what Bob's vision was, and then seeing some of the guys that they were bringing in, it excited me about the possibility of doing something special within U.S. soccer. And I think there's a huge opportunity. And so it was something that excited me.
I am interested. I am intrigued by the fact that you bring a player's perspective to this, because I think, one thing that a lot of us worry about is, and obviously players will worry about is, am I joining a club that's going to pay me? Like, am I going to get paid on time? Are things going to be well run? All of those things. I mean, we don't want to, I as somebody who's been covering American soccer for 20 years, Chandler, I mean, I just get tired of saying, oh, there's that club that doesn't exist anymore. Here's that other club that doesn't exist anymore. I make a joke on this show and other things that I do that this room I'm in, this studio that I've created, is full of stuff for clubs that don't exist anymore. American soccer teams, and they're not all of them are like from the 70s or whatever. They're all, lots of them are from the last decade or two. And that's what we want to guard against. So is that something that you have to focus on? I mean, I don't know how you guarantee any of that, especially if you want to let these clubs maintain their independence, but that's what people are going to worry about. Are players going to get paid? Are the standards going to be in place?
Yeah. I mean, for me, a huge portion of my role is having that player first ethos. I mean, having played in the league and seeing some of the challenges that some of my teammates faced and just hearing some stories around the league, that's a huge priority to me, is to create a situation where our league is a place that players want to be. They know that it's going to have a certain level of professionalism, and ensure that players know that when they're coming into NISA, that the clubs have been vetted and there are basic minimum professional standards. Because it's an open system and clubs are going to do things a certain way, there has to be a certain standard, like a professional bare minimum standard that players can know as they're playing in this league that they can expect. And so that's a big thing for me, is operating between the league and the clubs to ensure that these sort of professional standards are met. And I mean, obviously the most basic one is what you just discussed, that when players sign a contract, that they're going to get paid their money, that there's not this fear like, oh, the club could fold in a week, or I'm not going to get my paycheck, because that is not professional soccer, and that's not what NISA will be.
Right. I think what we, as American soccer fans, and a lot of us are romantics, so we want to see clubs kind of come out of nowhere, a bunch of guys get together, a community decides we want a soccer team, and we allow for that in American soccer. And it's obviously not the case that you can just start an MLS team or even start a USL team. That takes millions of dollars. So I want there to be a level like this. I really do hope that there's a level like this where it's a much smaller effort that is required to get a professional team off the ground. But of course, that's the difficult thing, is the standards of it. And I guess, like, I would wonder, do you think that there is enough of an appetite in certain places in this country to sort of allow for, okay, this is going to be a little janky to start. This is not going to be the prettiest thing on the planet. Maybe the fields or the stadiums will not be, super fancy. We have to allow for that for community-based clubs.
Yeah. And I think there has to be that kind of understanding and view sometimes, as a perspective, as a fan or a supporter of the league, that there are going to be growing pains, and to allow clubs to kind of grow into it. Teams that have only operated as like a youth team, or have played in lower, like unprofessional levels, like semi-pro or amateur, that there is going to be a learning curve for some of these clubs. And so I think the narrative that needs to shift is that this is an opportunity for players that would most likely otherwise not be playing professionally, or clubs that would not have professional clubs, or communities that would not have professional teams. And so I think we're quick as a fan base or as supporters to be like, well, this isn't professional. This doesn't look professional at all. And it's like, there's no time to allow the club to understand what it takes to be professional and to grow in that area, and recognize this is an opportunity that most players would never get if this league did not exist.
Chandler Hoffman, he's the new commissioner of NISA, officially named this morning. We might have had a little bit of advance warning that it was happening. Chandler, sounds like you have a big challenge in front of you. I'm thrilled that you're getting this opportunity. I'm looking forward to talking to you about this as you get your feet wet and the thing move forward. I appreciate you joining the show.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me, and thanks for what you do. It's much needed.
Hey, by the way, I want to get your email address. You said you're doing this at Georgetown. Are you local to Georgetown?
No, not local. They have the online program. But
online's ruining it. I was like, I'm going to get lunch with Chandler Hoffman. May not happen. Appreciate your time, Chandler. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There goes Chandler Hoffman on Morning Kick Around, doing the work, getting ready to be the commissioner, or starting as commissioner of NISA, something we will definitely be following here on Morning Kick Around. All right, if you have not liked and subscribed to Morning Kick Around, you should be doing that right now. You can become a member of the MK Ultras for just a couple bucks a month, get access to the Discord and the community and some bonus content and priority commenting and all of those things here on the channel. We're covering American soccer from the bottom to the top, as I am starting to say. You can follow us on social media, on Blue Sky, X, Instagram, at MKickaround. That's where you can do that. That is a very easy way to keep up with what's going on with the show. If you want to throw us a couple bucks and not do it through YouTube, you can go to coffee.com/ patreon.com/morning kick around and give us a little bit of money to support the show moving forward. You can send us an email on whatever is on your mind. If you want to write in long form, you can do that at morningkickaround@gmail.com. I will point out that the MK Ultras got a bonus bit of content in the YouTube feed this morning, the Daily Davis, my thoughts on a number of things, including the MLS All-Star Game, the MLS All-Star Skills Challenge, things of that nature. And that's what we're going to talk about next when we come back with American Soccer is Weird.